Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is Cinesmack! And the winner is...
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 177 of Cinesmack, and the start of our 16th year as the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges. First, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios, Andrew Zoomy Zoomwalt.
I get a zoomy?
Yes, you do.
Well, I was going to say Superman. So it kind of fits.
Kind of. Second, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabriel Rowald.
I stay, you go.
Fair enough.
Is it the other way? Is it actually the other way around? I go, you stay. I think I messed that up.
Did you watch the movie?
I did.
Okay, great start here.
Damn it.
Third, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom Giff of the Haggai Haggis.
We have the wings.
Fourth, writer, actor, and director, Kyle Damn He's Fine.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry, guys. I got to take a minute to address something that's been bothering me. We had our meeting last week to set up our next year's Cinesmack planning, and I wanted to say that it was a little contentious at times. You know, we take this very seriously, but I feel like I owe you guys an apology. I'd like to do it here in a public setting because I'm a believer that, you know, if you disrespect somebody or you hurt somebody, you need to make that good in public. So even though it was 100% sincere and completely honest, I now understand that hearing someone say they would much rather listen to the greatest hits of Limp Bizkit than the Beatles' greatest hits could be harmful to you. Even if it's someone telling the truth, I understand that that can be triggering for a lot of people. So I want to apologize to the rest of the people on the podcast. Like I said, I stand by my comments. They are true comments, but I understand how they could hurt somebody, and I don't want to do that. I won't be taking any questions at this time. This is going to be between me, my wife, and our God. And I'd like to thank, for this time, and I have to do this contractually, I'd like to thank Johnson Augers, grip and rip it, don't let it slip. So Johnson Augers, and he holds a goal. So thank you guys very much for this time. I'm sorry to slow down the momentum, but I'm looking forward to having a good show, and I hope we can bury this hatchet. Let's get this show rolling.
Kyle, I for one thank you for your heartfelt apology.
Oh, I appreciate it. Oh, my audio is breaking up. That's great. That's wonderful. The greatest monologue I've ever delivered.
Okay, let's go ahead and poke the monkey. Find out what movies we're discussing tonight.
Oh, why? Why even do it?
Ladies and gentlemen, maroon mechanoids and extraterrestrial automata, welcome to the main event. Tonight, two movies starring mechanical marvels clash for cinema supremacy. Will the wild robot win? Or is the iron giant too big to fail? In the first corner,
from 2024. Written by Peter Brown and Chris Sanders. Directed by Chris Sanders. Story: Kit Connor, Pedro Pascal, and Lupita Nyong'o. The Wild Robot. In the second quarter from 1999. Written by Ted Hughes, Brad Bird, and Tim McCanley. Directed by Brad Bird. Starring Jennifer Aniston, Vin Diesel, and Eli Marienthal. The Iron Giant!
All right. Well, you guys aren't here for my opinion, but I really enjoy both of these films, and I can't wait to hear what our panel thinks about them. So let's move on to our first round, which is writing.
You are right. We are not here for your opinion, so keep it to yourself. If I break up again, let me
Thank
know.
you,
Okay,
Kyle.
I'll just leave. I'll just leave the podcast.
You're breaking up again, Kyle. You're breaking up again.
Oh, shut
See ya.
up, Tom. You can't fool me. I've never seen either of these movies before. I heard good things about The Wild Robot.
Either?
I've always heard either, neither.
Neither.
Neither. Let's get into semantics. The Iron Giant I watched first. It is, I mean, I don't want to, it's not a simple, I mean, it is a simple story with a great message, very well told. It takes some chances and breaks some tropes, which I really like. It introduces some characters that have, you know, I think, quirks or attitudes or, things about them that you wouldn't quite expect. They don't fit into neat little categories all the time. I really like that. I like the way the mother-son relationship was written. I like the way the son and the Iron Giant's relationship was written. I really liked a lot of the dialogue and the story beats. It falls into the trope of having the over-the-top bad guy, you know, at times, but it's Shooter McGavin, so you got to give him some leeway there. But it's a simple story, well told, with a really good message that I can see. You know, I don't know how early in Brad Bird's career this was, but you can see like why he went on to become so successful. You know, writing, creating, directing films. He has a real talent for it, and it shines through in this movie. And I thought the pacing was pretty good. There was a lot of exploration of the characters and their relationships, but not too much that got slowed down or bogged down. Things felt like they were always moving. The Wild Robot, I did not know what to expect, but I quickly realized this is probably a movie that was going to make me very sad at some point. Like I had that feeling like, oh, this is going to be about like parenthood and, you know, and it leans into that, but it's so beautifully written and it has such a great momentum and energy to it that carries from scene to scene. I think there are a few times where it may feel a little repetitive in like things like, oh, there's high stakes now, but it hits a ton of beats that are super salient and important to its overall theme and what it's trying to get across. And it's wrapped in a really neat, interesting story with really interestingly written characters. We get to acting and we'll talk about, you know, all the voice acting in these movies, but the dialogue was great. The story, the shell story around what they're trying to deliver to everybody, the message they're trying to get across, I thought was fantastic. I thought it hit so many great emotional beats, and had some amazing dialogue and a great design for characters. And their role in telling this emotional story. So I'm gonna pass it off to someone else. But yeah, just nothing but praise from me for these.
Yeah, for a long time.
Go ahead, Tom.
So for a long time, Iron Giant was kind of like the go-to movie that me and the kids could watch together, and we both take something away from it differently. And I don't know, it kind of elevated itself above the usual animation genre. And whenever it got brought up, it's just like, oh yeah, Iron Giant's so good, it's so good. And I really liked it this time. And I was actually kind of surprised how much more I liked Wild Robot on the second viewing. Um, the and I think a lot of it has to do with the writing, because the like Wild Robot's surprisingly dark. Like there's a lot of dark comedy, especially like in the first 20 minutes of it. You know, the possums talking about death's proximity makes life burn all the brighter, which is absolutely hilarious. And just like the physical comedy of it. I still love Iron Giant, but yeah, I was kind of surprised how well the comedy in Wild Robot pretty much sets you up for kind of that emotional roller coaster that comes later on.
Yeah, and I think I like both of these movies very much. I think they kind of transcend what we think of as like animation and children's animation and that kind of thing. I was surprised to find that they were both rated PG, and I wondered about that a little bit. But thematically, they're a little bit darker than what you might kind of experience normally in children's animated films and that kind of thing. And yeah, and some of it is actually very kind of adult and dark. And I think, Tom, your example of the possums, she thinks at one point she loses one of them.
Mm-hmm.
She thinks it dies, and she's just like, whatever. That's what happens, But then we are happy to find that, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay, that kind of thing. But there's a darkness to that, kind of a nonchalant kind of approach to life and death there that you wouldn't normally experience in an animated movie. And I think also, and I don't want to take any of Mike's trivia, so Mike, please stop me. Both of these are based on other material.
I'm joking. Keep going.
Okay, they're based on other material, books or written material, and actually the origin of the Iron Giant is very dark. It centers around some unfortunate deaths, some suicides, and those kinds of things that created these stories. And so, it's not the kind of thing you think of when you think of like animated features. But I think they're both very well written, and I think they both approach some topics that aren't approached a lot in children's entertainment. And maybe I shouldn't say that they're children's entertainment, but they seem like it if animated, and they approach things like death and sacrifice and friendship and all these kinds of kind of heavy topics, and I think both are very well written. And I hate to admit that I think both of these movies made me cry. I don't know. They're very emotional and very well written, both of them.
Yeah. So, is there going to be an Iron Giant 2?
I don't think so.
I don't know about that, but I think there's going to be an Wild Robot 2.
Yeah.
So,
because I think there's 3 books.
3 books
so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would expect a live action Iron Giant before a sequel.
Oh, sure, that makes sense. I guess. So this was my first viewing of the Iron Giant. I know. I'm late to the party too.
You know
I had
what?
always
I'm surprised
what
about that because I felt like there was something wrong with me that I hadn't seen it yet either. But this
well,
is my first viewing too.
It's
yeah,
crazy.
and I've always heard everyone talk about how it's, you know, it's so deep and emotional. And don't get me wrong, there is a lot of really good story and tropes in here that I enjoyed, and it felt, good. I think what frustrated me the most was the ending. Like I was good with the sacrifice and the end and working through the loss, and then shifting that around to where, well, he's not actually dead though. Like I would have, I gotta, I don't know. It feels less of a sacrifice when you know that basically the robot can't die.
True.
And that to me, like if they would have not done that part, it would have just ended and they were all like, gosh, I miss him. To me, that is where the emotional part was. And then as soon as it was like, oh, he's actually still alive, I was like, oh, well, okay, all right.
Well, and I
And
think,
so
I think that's a product of the time. I mean, the movie's 26 years old, and
I
it
understand,
was a
but
softer sell back then. Kids have been through some serious shit in the last 20
yeah,
years, and like now they're like, look, kid, this may come up before you hit 18, so you kind of, death is permanent. So,
right.
and kids
Well,
just can handle it better than they could 25 years ago.
but I mean, even like with the wild robot, I mean, in a sense, even though it wasn't a physical disassemble, there was, in a sense, a death because I mean, what is it about death that, strickens most people, and that is the loss of the person, or being able to be around that person and having those conversations and having those memories together, and that bond being taken away, and having those, the chemicals that get excited when you see each other in your brains that make you have that physical and mental and emotional connection that makes a friend or a loved one so important, that when they're ripped away from you because of death, it it's not just physically that person's not there. You're losing that mentality, you're losing those emotional and physical ties that you had. And the wild robot, even though the physical body was still there, the loss of the actual connection and the memories and stuff was the important, I guess, that I don't know. It just, I think it hit differently to me. I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
Maybe
They
I'm
do kind
blabbering. I
of.
don't know.
No, they don't. They don't completely sell into their bittersweet sacrificial moments at the end. That I feel like a lot of the lesson of the movie, or the heart of the movie, is getting to. It can kind of feel like they try to pull out of a nosedive, or they chicken out at the last moment and they're like, we don't want
Yeah.
to stick with this sad ending. We want to
Right.
send people home happy. So
Right.
we're going to tack on this little piece where you see that, oh, everything is actually okay. And that can feel like it is undercutting some of the strength of your message if you're not willing to make the bold stance of like, this is the person who sacrificed everything for you and for everyone else, and you should honor that and always remember that and keep them in your heart even though they're not physically here, right? But when you show that you can have your cake and eat it too, it feels a little wishy-washy, or like they couldn't commit.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I feel like holds the audience's hand a little bit, like you won't understand, or you can't handle this message without us telling you everything's okay at the end.
yeah, I mean, it feels like, the trope of the Hollywood ending where we always have to have a happy ending. And I feel like both of these movies stand alone on themselves with such a strong, powerful message of, that connection, and, trying to fit in a place where you don't, and building on those connections. And then they were like, well, but we still wanted to be happy at the end. And I mean, yes, maybe it is a generational thing. But I mean, with the Iron Giant, we're kids from the 80s that we grew up on Artex dying. in the swamps of
Yeah, that was-
sadness.
Yeah.
And they didn't bring him.
Yeah.
Well, shit, they did, didn't they? Damn it. Okay, I'll think of a different one. But it just there was just I feel there was a little bit more power in the wild robot because she was blank. Even though she was there, she was still blank. And they had to rebuild that connection. So they didn't go all the way, but they went further than with Iron Giant, where it's like, yep, he's still cool. He's pretty much indestructible. But that was my biggest gripe between both of them, because I really felt they had strong messages and they just didn't. I don't know. Maybe Kyle, you know, they chickened out. Maybe that is the best way to say it. And I don't know if that's how the books are. I you know, I can't speak for that. But that was my biggest, because otherwise I agree with what you guys have all said about the writing and the beauty of it and blah, blah, blah. So.
Yeah, I think for the wild robot, it seems as though that, you know, Roz survives in some way at the end, because
Yes.
there's two more books
Yes.
right now. So you know,
Well,
but with,
and she
with Iron
says,
Giant, I'm not
you can
sure.
call me. She, at the end though, she also says, you can call me Roz. So it felt like there's an inkling of something left of her memory.
Well, and she also mentioned something about like her heart,
Yes.
as opposed to her brain.
You have the
that
ET
kind of thing.
moment.
Yeah. So
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Round's ended. Let's put it to a vote. Kyle.
I'm gonna go for the wild robot.
All right. Tom.
Yeah, I go wild robot.
Gabe.
This is a tough one. I think I'm going to go with the Iron Giant, and I liked parts. We didn't talk about this, but I like parts of the 1950s culture too, and the atomic fears, that kind of thing.
All right. Andrew.
The wild robot.
In The Wild Robot, the robot's name is Rosm, shortened to Roz. The author of the book the movie is based on, Peter Brown, has written that this is a nod to the 1920 science fiction stage play Rosm's Universal Robots, written by Czech writer Karl Čapek. Čapek and his brother Josef Čapek introduced the word robot into the English language and into science fiction. The word is drawn from the Slavic root robot, meaning labor. The play was also the first use of the word to denote a mechanical humanoid. The Iron Giant's name was changed from the Iron Man, name of the book it's based on, so it wouldn't be confused with the comic book character Iron Man. When Tim McNally's was hired to write the screenplay, Brad Bird was initially quite resistant, hoping to write it himself, but he changed his mind when he read McNally's then unfinished screenplay to Secondhand Lions. That's all I got, boys.
I mean, I've heard the robot thing before, but it's cool that it's a nod to that play.
Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. All right. Second round. Acting.
So, this, so Disney movies back in the 60s and 70s didn't really cast famous people, or they didn't, use the names to draw people to the theater. They just did it on the back of Disney. And then with Robin Williams and Aladdin, they suddenly realized that name recognition and your voice actors will get people in the seats. I'd give Brad Bird and Iron Giant a lot of credit because, Jennifer Aniston was really huge in 1999. And she was quite a draw. And Harry Connick Jr. Was pretty popular at the same time. But I feel like they do more with less, with it seems like Wild Robot really kind of packs in the stars and tries to get as many people in there as possible. At the same time, they didn't really use those names. I mean, I remember the marketing when the movie came out last year, and it wasn't, they didn't really throw around Lupita Nyong'o or Pedro Pascal's name a whole lot. But it did, give the movie some weight. That being said, I feel like the voice work in Wild Robot is kind of a higher caliber. And it seems like, especially kind of the leads, knew what they were going for. After decades of watching A-listers do these movies, they seem to really have a good grasp of it. I didn't really get that from Harry Connick Jr. and Jennifer Aniston. I think they did a really good job, but I just don't think their voices really aren't, I don't know, almost like unique enough or identifiable. In fact, I got all the way through Iron Giant and I forgot Jennifer Aniston was the mom.
I did. So, I did too. I was waiting. I was like, for the longest time was like, is that Jennifer? Is that her?
Yeah. And it just, I don't know. It just,
sorry.
It's fine. It's just different. It's different now. It's animated movies. They just try to get as many famous people in there as possible because every famous person is going to be a draw for sell more tickets. And the thing that's changed, I think, the most is that the actors they get now seem to have a better understanding of what they're going for. They've seen what Robin Williams did, and they see what Mike Myers did with Shrek and Eddie Murphy with Donkey. There's a much better idea of how to get those voice performances and make a character come alive. It's not just reading lines, which kind of feels like what Jennifer Aniston and Harry Connick Jr. were doing. It was very believable, and they didn't take anything away from the story, but I just feel like voice acting has evolved a lot, and Wild Robot definitely benefits from that.
Yeah, and I think Wild Robot, you can see build on its predecessors. Like, you can see there are some moments in it too, I think, are homages to the Iron Giant, like where she pulls out all of these different tools from her back to stop the egg from hatching, and that looks a lot like the Iron Giant as he's like facing off against enemies and trying to adapt and stuff like that. Saying there is some homage there, but yeah, the infrastructure and the popularity, the processes, and the places, studios, teams, everything that work on voice roles now, it's such a huge industry that it's really come a long way in 25 years. And you are right, like a lot of these animated movies now have all-star, star-studded casts. And that didn't used to be the thing. Iron Giant, like you said, this is at the height, probably the height of Harry Connick Jr.'s popularity, and certainly Jennifer Aniston has been a draw for a long time, but this is, at the height of her popularity as well. And yeah, it was hard to recognize them coming through in the roles. You get that more now, I think, in animated movies. But sometimes during The Wild Robot, I had to stop and ask myself, like, I know that voice. Who is that? Like, I didn't clock the wolf right at the top as Pedro Pascal. I knew it sounded familiar, and I don't know really anything that Kit Connor's done off the top of my head. But I think they give great performances. And once I knew who they were, you could argue, is that a detriment? Does it change your perception of them once you know who's giving that performance? But yeah, I think the acting in Iron Robot is great. It has a great child voice actor, which can be so hit or miss sometimes. I think you see the origins of Groot, with Vin Diesel being given a handful of lines and going like, oh, this guy can do this in this limited role. And I thought he was good for the little work he got. I loved, I think it's Chris McDonnell, or I think is the name of the FBI agent, Shooter McGavin. I can't remember his name. I hope I'm saying that right. but he was very animated, came through very well. The Wild Robot it has a stellar cast. I love Matt Berry. I'm a huge Matt Berry fan, so seeing him show up, I love Bill Nighy, so you throw him in there too, and Ving Rhames coming in. I mean, that was great.
Kyle, you were correct. Christopher McDonald.
Okay, ooh, thank God. I love that guy. I mean, Shooter McGavin's one of my favorite villains. Like, he's so smarmy, so good at it. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. I thought the acting in both movies were really good. But Wild Robot it's kind of next level, but I think it owes a lot of that to the infrastructure and the popularity of voice work. And now big actors are taking that work a lot more often, and people know how to do it a lot better. There's a lot more in place to do it.
Yeah, the other one that I thought was really interesting was Mark Hamill. Bringing him on the Wild Robot.
Very small part.
Very small part, but as soon as he spoke, I was like, yep, that's Mark Hamill.
Yeah.
I guess you guys said a couple of keywords, and that is voice acting. And it feels like during the Iron Giant era, when we were doing animated stuff, it was, we were saying our lines, we were kind of getting the emotion through, animators were kind of looking at you, drawing, getting things kind of figured out. Cool. Now people are actually acting when they do their voice. They are now being, a Roz or a Fox Fink or a bear or whatever, and they're getting into the role, and they're not just performing the voices, they're acting out. Like, you can watch some of the behind the scenes, and I think there's a dramatic shift in how the acting of a voice has changed, and how they're more, in a sense, acting in the booth, like they are actually performing it versus what they used to do. And that you can really see that evolution between the two of them. Did it ever pull me out of the movie? No. I felt you feel more fluid kind of in the Wild Robot. Like, it's just kind of, you expect it. It just feels natural. In the Iron Giant, you feel like you're watching The Secret of Nim, or, the Iron Giant type, where it's just like they're telling the story through these animations. And there's a different feel, definitely. So I can get on board with that. I know that wasn't very smacky, but
Do you guys think that there's any impact on the type of animation and how, well, for lack of a better term, how animated the animation can be, that influences what you think of the voice performance?
I think sometimes
because Iron Giant is more muted, that I'm attributing that to the voices. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, I mean, do you think the animation itself can have any impact on how you feel about the voice performances?
I mean,
it did for me a little bit. The Wild Robot is so colorful, and all the characters also bright and vibrant, that I think that adds to the voice work if you're giving it those colors, right? And you're playing non-human characters, which gives you a much bigger range, I think.
Yep.
To add some wackiness or some expression. When you're playing like an eccentric art guy who runs a junkyard and a single mom who's struggling to make ends meet, there's only so much you can do with that. Now, they've gotten away from that a little bit, and you see more of that coming in. I'm thinking of movies like Inside Out, or, where characters are, quote unquote, your average human, but they have more color and quirk and flair. But yeah, I think the type of being you're playing definitely influences how far you can go or what you can get away with putting in your voice work. You're playing really grounded characters, especially in a grounded world other than the Iron Giant existing. I think everything is going to feel a little more muted. And I think that fits the tone better. and you let the kid and the giant be the ones who make the big, bold things, and the bad guy, right? And everybody else stays grounded. In the Wild Robot, everybody can kind of play. There's a lot of freedom because of what you're playing.
And yeah, I mean, I would say that the visuals, are part of telling the story. It's not just the vocal, So do I look at it and go, oh, well, this animation's old, so I don't really like it as much. I don't. I grew up on a lot of this animation, and so to me, it's almost nostalgic, in a sense. But the range of animation versus a lot of the animation they can do now, whether it's hand drawn or computer drawn, is a lot better than what it used to be. But I think if the story is still interesting and what you're delivering visually, regardless of if it perfectly syncs with the mouth or whatever, if you're still telling a good story, I think some of that visual, you kind of just get into the groove and you accept it, kind of like watching a science fiction movie or something where it's like, that's no way that's possible, but you just kind of go with it because you're in the groove.
Right.
So-
and how much credit do we give to the animators
Oh,
for the acting performances here? Because I think what I've heard is that, and I agree completely that I think voice acting has evolved between these two movies quite significantly, but the animation itself has also evolved. And how much credit do we give to the animators for those acting performances? So you have a good voice performance, but you could have a good voice performance and maybe not so great animation to go with it. And how much credit do we give them?
I need to interject here real quick. I need to point out that some of the Iron Giant was motion captured, like they took and they.
I wondered
drew
about that
around
too. Yeah,
just so you know. So
I didn't want to touch on that. I didn't know if you had trivia.
Well, I mean, if it's going along with acting, you had some of the actors performing some of those moves.
Right.
Well, were they the actual voice actors who were performing those moves?
From what I saw, yes. But I mean, you can't believe everything.
Well, and that was right on the cusp. I wondered about that too, because that was right on the cusp of the whole kind of cell animation CG kind of thing, and mocap I assume was pretty prominent in that.
So okay, but you also have to take into consideration that up until now, a lot of the animation was, we know what they're going to say, we know how they're going to act, we know what the scene is going to look like. The animators would pretty much animate it, and you would just speak your dialogue to come in time with the visuals. Robin Williams in Aladdin, I think, was brought up earlier. One of the big things about that was the animators were basically going through and being like, we didn't, okay. And they would have to reanimate thousands and thousands of frames of animation to fit what Robin Williams was doing. And they finally realized that they could build animations around the actors instead of having the actors have to fit into the animation they've already done.
Right. And that's why they started recording them with cameras.
Yes. Yes. And that's where, and that's, so if we're going to touch on this, yes, I think you are correct, Gabe. With that cusp of the mocap, I think they started seeing some of that they're like, hey, we can get some really good animations. We can get some really good examples if we actually do this technology at the same time that we're drawing this. So I think you are correct that this was the gateway animation movie that really, potentially launched some of those other techniques. And they're like, hey, look what they did there. Because I mean, that is one of the things we'll talk about maybe in overall or directing, about the quality of these movies.
All right, let's stop right there. Put it to a
Sorry,
vote.
Tom. I didn't know if I cut you off.
No, I'm fine.
Tom.
Okay.
You did great. We'll go Wild Robot.
Gabe.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Wild Robot.
Andrew.
The Wild Robot.
And Kyle.
Yeah, I got to go with the Wild Robot.
Wow. All right. The two men Kent Mansley interviews after the train wreck are voiced by Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnston, two animators of classic Disney films, cartoons, and two members of the famed 9 Old Men at Disney. They also provided their likenesses for the characters. As Brad Bird states, they were huge influences on his career. And among Razum's greetings in Hujambo, a greeting in the Swahili language, which is the national language of Kenya and one of the languages spoken by voice actress Lupita Nyong'o. There you go. I didn't want to ramble on about everyone that they considered for the parts because they just love to list, this person was supposed to be in this part.
Bob Newhart was going to be in this.
Yeah, Bob Newhart, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, it ran the gamut. I'm like, all right, let's just do these.
I mean, that would have been a different movie.
It would have been.
I'm
Where's the giant robot?
I'm Roz.
Well, no, that would have been for Iron Giant, but yeah.
Oh, Iron Giant, Superman.
I can see Sylvester Stallone as the bear.
Oh, hey.
Yo,
Adrian.
I'm not gonna eat nobody.
Yo, you come to Tulsa? Sorry.
Hey,
all right.
I'm asleep in here.
That's Pesci or De Niro, isn't it?
Guys, that's Dustin Hoffman.
It's Dustin Hoffman
here.
What?
Also, all of your Sylvester Stallone impressions are a little over the top.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to be good.
Top.
We just kind of got off.
I just want to win this truck for my kid.
No, you're trying to win your kid. The truck just comes along with it.
I'm just trying to win this kid to put in my truck. Is that better?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's more accurate.
All right. Let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
I think that directing an animated movie would be kind of interesting. And I think we've probably talked about some of this stuff before, where it's like you're directing performances like we just talked about from real live actors. You're getting voice performances from these actors. But then you're also kind of coordinating animators to do these various scenes. And I think one of the scariest things about doing an animated movie would be the endless possibilities. Especially nowadays, you can do basically anything you want. You can make it look how you want. You can put the camera wherever you want. And I think it makes it extra challenging. Whereas if you're doing a real life thing, it's like, okay, we have some physical limitations as to where we can put the camera and what we can actually capture and do. But with animated movies, it's basically wide open. And I think that would be really challenging. And I think it has, it says something about the director's choices. The directors have choices, and did they make the right ones for these movies? And I think the direction for both of these movies is very strong. It's very good. And I think about two, like, and I guess I don't know from personal experience, but I think about something like the Iron Giant, where it's like, if you want to make a change to something, that's going to be a little bit harder than if you were to do it with the Wild Robot, because of the technologies that are in place and that kind of thing. But did they make the right choices? Did they make the right choices on the angles? Did they make the right choices on the scenes, what they kept in, what they left out, that kind of thing? And I think it really comes down to the director's choices. And I think both of these directors made excellent choices. One thing I noticed about The Wild Robot is the pacing. And I think this might be a modern thing too. I feel like the Iron Giant is a little bit more deliberately paced, a little bit slower, a little bit more what we're used to. But man, I've watched The Wild Robot twice now. And the very beginning of the movie to me is almost exhausting. So much happens. So much happens so fast that I'm like, I don't even know if I can keep up. And I feel like it says something about our modern culture and modern viewers and that kind of thing. It's really fast paced. They go through all this stuff really fast right at the very beginning of The Wild Robot. It slows down in certain spots. But, I felt like The Iron Giant was a lot more kind of calculated, slower pacing. And maybe because of, the technology that they had available at the time and that kind of thing. But I don't know. I'd like to hear what you guys think about the directing of these two and the pacing of The Wild Robot.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I do think they do come at you at two pretty different speeds, but I think that's one of the reasons. I was watching Wild Robot last night. I just, it is almost breathless how, they just kind of throw you into it.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe the part of it is the lack of focus and attention spans of kids these days, but,
Yeah.
I kind of enjoy it. Like, why kind of meander into the story? If you want to, hit the ground running, then by all means, go ahead and do it. But I also think that
literally
the 1950s of Iron Giant, it's just a slower paced time, and I think that kind of plays into it too. I don't think had Iron Giant took off at that speed, it really would have played to the era that they were trying to, to try to deliver. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Brad Bird's, I don't know. Iron Giant is one of those movies where, on the surface, if I just look at the posters and the trailer and clips from it, it's not a movie that would normally catch my attention. But I have no idea how Brad Bird makes it so compelling for 100 minutes that I just can't take my eyes off the screen. And it's entertaining and it's fun, but it does not, you don't feel your foot on the gas pedal as much as you do with Wild Robot. And I think that's a credit to Brad Bird telling the story in a visual way that backs up the story, but also keeps you engaged.
Well, yeah, and it fits the tone of the film as well. Like, Iron Giant it's not a mystery or a thriller movie. It's a hope we don't get caught movie. It's shrouded in like the kind of the shadow of the Cold War. But it's also a trying to keep a secret, trying to keep someone safe, trying to figure out this what to do with these extraordinary circumstances. I think that plays a little bit into the slower pace a bit of there having to be some sneaking around. I think one of the things the movie does wonderfully is it almost has at points like a Tom and Jerry feel, where like the hand is inside the house trying to find metal things to eat, and it has these really funny comedic beats of this kid basically like trying to hide a pet, and that has a really warm and like reassuring feeling. And Brad Bird does a great job of getting you into this world and not letting you think about the fact that you're watching a movie, which is like a high credit to a movie, that you don't get distracted by other things or you don't get taken out of the story. And I think it fits with that pace and the tone. And I think some of it too is the color palette and the choices they make in how they animate the characters' clothing and all of that. It fits to a wonderful tone that fits the movie. The Wild Robot is so bright and vibrant and fast. And I'm with you, Gabe. It really comes out all guns blazing. I think some of that is to grab your attention and to get you sucked into the world. One of the things I found fascinating about the movie was the quiet times in between when there were action. Sometimes they did play it very quiet and let you soak in the ambiance. And sometimes they had this great score and other songs and moments that would help move the emotions along in the movie and keep things going, because the movie starts so fast. It's easy to feel like it suddenly slams on the brakes, and that can be very jarring. But it keeps its energy up even in lower moments through, bringing the camera closer in, using music to bridge gaps, using the score, underscoring emotional beats with montages, like things like that. It does a great job of keeping the whole thing flowing and not feeling boring. The movie's about, I think maybe it's 10 or 15 minutes longer than The Iron Giant, if I remember correct, or maybe they're almost the exact same time, but Iron Giant definitely feels a little slower and a slower burn until the end, but there is this interplay in it that's very nice and comforting. And I think it has a great message, and Brad Bird knows that. And they make a lot of good choices to tie the tone together, I think, in both movies.
I was just gonna say, with the pacing, at least with the Wild Robot, we talked about it starts off just guns blazing, boots on the ground, railroad train, whatever, simile you want to use. It feels very much part of the story, though. When she first arrives and wakes up, she's in robot mode. She's in boom, boom, boom. I got to get all these things done. I'm a task. I'm going to run. And as she learns and develops, she learns to actually slow down. And as like Kyle was just saying, there's those moments of those dips where it's just kind of like, take it in, see what you got. And then as we move back closer to her getting into those robot moments, it pushes that speed, that pacing. So I would hope that it was a directorial choice into having these peaks and valleys to really parallel the themes and the moments that were being learned by Roz at the same time. And with the Iron Giant, I mean, it was very much I don't know if this is the right way to say this, but it almost felt like a buddy movie at the beginning. It's this kid and the giant, and they're not really too sure about each other, but they're, playing and humming along, and, he's hiding from his parents, but we're still having a good time. And it felt like they had this, you were building this bonded type story, this buddy film, until you got up to the end when, all the misunderstandings happen. The military gets involved, which is, traditional. And so I felt like that was a lot slower because you were building that emotional connection right off the bat versus the Wild Robot that you had to get there, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yeah, and I just think I do wonder what the difference. I mean, these movies are 25 years apart.
Mhm.
And I do wonder what the difference in audiences is. Their ability to kind of digest this stuff more quickly and understand these things differently.
And with that being said, I think it was Tom. I don't remember. Somebody said something about the rating. They were surprised at the rating.
I said that I was surprised that both of them were PG.
So
I think both are PG, right?
right. So my question is did they get rated that way because of the themes? So the parents, yeah. So like, if you rate it G and then you bring your kids to it and it's this deep, heavy story about death, what do you tell your kid when you're expecting to see, Minions versus, well, I mean, because there's a big difference between, the topics. And I'm curious to know if it was a PG due to the themes and some of the topics that were in both movies. I don't know. I'm not a part of the MPAA or anything, but I just was
right.
It very much
I
feels
feel like
that
it was,
way.
yeah, yeah. Well, and regarding it's going to be I think this is going to be a tough round because I think regarding the directing, I think both of these are really well directed. They're very competently directed movies. But I think they were directed for different audiences to a certain degree. And so we'll have to see, you know, because I think we have evolved as viewers ourselves since 1999 to maybe be able to take in a lot more information a lot more quickly. We're bombarded with information on a daily basis, and I think that you know, I think the directing styles between these two movies represent that a bit.
Well, and your personal experiences along the way have changed the way that you interpret the themes that the director is trying to visually place into you, minus the story that's been written, but you know, the visual connection and the enjoyability to get through the message, you know, using the visual medium that he had. You are perceiving and taking that in differently than you would 10 years ago, 5 years ago, even, just due to personal experiences. And I think that changes what you potentially could experience from the movie, right?
Oh,
You
yeah.
said with a different look and a different eye, but I mean, you could take it as far as, you know, the kids watching it in 99 versus, you know, watching the Iron Giant as adults. Has it changed for them? Does it mean something different? Maybe they've experienced death or whatnot differently. So
Yeah, and
that's an
I
interesting
think,
point.
and I think the directorial, you know, like I said before, you know, directing an animated movie, it gives you almost infinite choices, and having that power can almost be debilitating. And you need to make the right choices in these animated movies. And I think, you know, 25 years between them, those choices have changed significantly, and what you can do about those choices has changed significantly. You know, like with CG animation, maybe I can make last minute changes to this, but with Iron Giant, making those changes wasn't quite so convenient. And so to me, animated movies are about infinite choices and then making the right ones.
That's
thought.
a good place to end it. I don't know if you guys talked about this because I blacked out for a few minutes.
Wow.
But I feel like the Iron Giant is a period piece, right? Like it is set in the 50s and it's made to look like it was made in the 50s almost. Minus the use of some CG and some newer animation techniques. It was made to look that way, right? So that's my 2 cents, and I'll hit the button on myself.
Who cares?
All right, let's go vote. Gabe.
I'm still surprised that's not actually Ron's voice. Anyway, yeah, geez, this is tough because they're separated so much in time.
Here,
I
I'll
don't
help
know
you.
where to go.
Okay.
Anything
There you
to
Okay.
let Mike use the
I'm
soundboard.
gonna go with Wild Robot.
Wild Robot. All right.
Yep.
Andrew.
Wild Robot.
Kyle.
What is the Iron Giant? I will take the Mothman ate my ass for 600, Alex.
And Tom.
I didn't get that reference, but I'm gonna go Iron Giant because Brad Bird's the man.
All right.
This is true.
The main processor the robots use in the Wild Robot is designated Alpha-113, a reference to the room A113 at the California Institute of the Arts, used by graphic design and character animation students. It is also the room where writer-director Chris Sanders and head of story Heidi Jo Gilbert studied at Cal Arts. Now for the twist. The number 3 on the A-113 license plate in the Iron Giant partially eaten by the giant, is bitten off. Also, in Dean's house, there's a painting which has A113 on it. It is also, it also appears in a few of other Brad Bird's work, referencing the same classroom. There you go.
Yeah, he did use that in Mission Impossible even.
Yes, he did. You're right.
He did.
Yeah. Is it Ghost Protocol when he has the class ring on with the poison dart in it at the beginning? It says A113 on it.
A113. Yep.
Just go through the Pixar movies and you'll find
It's
A113 in almost
everywhere.
every Pixar movie
Yep.
known.
I love that peripheral kind of stuff.
I like
I
that
love it
nerdy
when
crap.
they put that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like most people would never know, but
Nope.
it's so cool.
It's for nerds like us that love movies.
Yep. Love that stuff.
All right. Last round overall.
Well, I'm not sure there's much else that can be said about these movies. Even though we have talked them and praised them, docked them, loved on them, stroked them into their egos, they are too... No, I won't. Okay. One of the big things I want to talk about in overall is that we probably haven't touched on. We do a lot with music, so we'll touch on that a little bit. But the big one I wanted to talk about was animation style, not necessarily just technique, but the actual style that was done. I think Mike touched on it a little bit here. He just did that last round about how the Iron Giant definitely has that 1950s feel. It was, even animated like it was filmed in 1950 kind of thing. And there was a lot of that motif flowing around with just everything. And they did a good job of capturing that generation and that time period. We've talked a lot about, people talked about the muted colors, the look of the stagnant. Stagnant's a bad word, but kind of the slower pace. It has that traditional, what you would think of with like the 1950s feel, and I think they did a good job of, in a sense, animating real life for that era. One of the things that I noticed big about the Iron Giant that I don't notice a lot in other films, especially hand-drawn animated films, was the use of depth and shallow focus. Like, and I realized that there's not really a camera there, but there are so many shots that, especially from like the Iron Giant's perspective, when you're with him or with Hogwarts. Hogwarts? Am I talking
Hogarth?
Hogarth.
When you're up with him, they show the looking down and it's out of focus, or they show that far wide shot and there's like a tree or something and it's not quite in focus in the foreground, but everything else is then in focus, and then you have the far back plane and it's getting closer and closer to being out of focus. Like, they really took time to basically animate what it would be like to shoot with a camera. And I thought that was or animate as a camera. And I thought that was a really fascinating thing that I don't see a lot, especially in hand-drawn stuff, because that's a lot of work to plan all that out. Yeah. So I thought that was really, really kind of cool. The other thing I thought in The Wild Robot was, yes, it was a computer animated movie. We've seen them. A lot of them look real. A lot of them look cartoony. The one thing I thought was interesting artistically was it almost had a watercolor, maybe a sketchy kind of feel to it. It wasn't quite like watching Wall-E, where everything's perfect, crisp and clean and perfect and everything. Like, there was almost like they were trying to computerize almost a hand-drawn look, but not quite. Like it's a weird in between, and I found that to be really fascinating and a really cool way to bring you into this world that isn't quite the norm. And then at the very end, when they go and you see all the other robots in the fields and everything's real crisp and real clean. But when they're in the woods, everything's very floaty and feely. And I thought that was really fascinating in those choices.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I felt the same way.
Yeah.
By the way, that especially like the fox, Fink is his name. Fink. He almost seems kind of low res. But the interesting thing to me is that the robot was always very high res, very detailed. The robot itself was very detailed, but a lot of the animals
almost
appeared to be lower res,
almost like they were hand drawn.
Yeah,
but weren't.
And I felt the same thing. I just wanted to agree with you on that. Agree with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the only other thing we talked about was music that we normally talk about. There was a lot of obviously there wasn't like a big soundtrack that we're going to go out and listen. It's got, AC/DC on it or anything, but there were some really nice orchestral moments specifically in The Wild Robot and the Iron Giant. I didn't notice the music as much, but that wasn't because there wasn't any. I think it just worked into the story so well. I don't know, or maybe it was just it was forgettable. I don't know what music. I don't know.
I really enjoyed the score in The Wild Robot. I thought it did a great job moving action along, and it was noticeable, but it didn't take over. You could just feel it kind of adding and building. I thought that was great. The sound design in The Wild Robot, especially in the beginning, I was in awe of, like the lapping water and all the nature sounds and the robotic sounds. They did such a good job with that. And they have so much going on at once that you don't feel, you can feel a bit bombarded by all the visuals, but I don't feel like you ever lose your sense of place or time or get overwhelmed by the sounds and stuff. It knows when to slow down a bit. It knows when to speed up a bit. It's brilliantly paced. Iron Giant, I think everything that was the choices that were made to fit with the tone and the feeling that it wanted to give you. I didn't notice a lot of the music in it. I don't know if they had any like licensed songs. I don't remember any. Could they have had some from the era? Would that have added something? Maybe a bit, but I don't think it was a major feature of it. I think the sound design was good. I think, the pacing was good. I think we've lavished a lot of praise on these movies, and rightfully so, but there's I think the sound design and the score, especially for The Wild Robot, deserve a special mention. But the hand-drawn style too, I always love that. I'm always pleasantly surprised to see that again. I feel like it's something that, because of the rise of CGI, we've lost a bit that I think has such a charm and a warmness and an appeal to it. And I loved it in the Iron Giant. And it really makes me want to go back and rewatch old Disney movies, especially some of the older ones, just for that. There's something about that. It's an indescribable feeling you get from it that I really enjoy. And every time I see it, it reminds me warmly of watching these movies as a kid, movies like this.
They call it nostalgia.
Iron Giant has that. Iron Giant has that Don Bluth look, like All Dogs Go to Heaven, American Tail.
The Land Before Time.
Almost not quite Disney. It's not. He kind of seems like they kept it away from the Disney stuff, which I like. The thing that I think I find most that I really like with Wild Robot is this theme that's really popular right now. Is the families that we're given versus the ones that we choose. and like how that influences and how that influences our identity and how our identity influences those families. And it's I mean, you just kind of see it everywhere. I mean, it's in like Thunderbolts and Brooklyn Nine-Nine and What We Do in the Shadows and Ted Lasso, Shazam. Like it's this, I mean, like in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it was very much about your family and how that's the most important thing. And we see that in like in Stranger Things. I mean, how important the family is to them. And what's interesting is that really people are trying to get that yes, you have your family and your parents and your siblings, but the family you choose in a lot of cases is more important in your growth and development because those are choices that you've made. So just a real quick anecdote. Wild Robot came out in September last year. We sent our oldest off to college in August of last year. So we are dealing with like sending our first kid off to college and being away from them. And we're just like, hey, let's go see this Wild Robot. It's got really good reviews. And holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like it hit
rough.
all the notes. It was it. And I know it will always have a special place in my heart because of that. It was fun watching it this time for the purposes of the podcast because I was able to kind of remove that from it and just look at it as a movie on its own. And I was just really pleasantly surprised that it held up so well as on its own without, pulling all those emotional cords.
Your hearts were on the floor 30 minutes into that movie.
Holy crap, man. Holy crap. When she's like trying to like teach him to fly to go, okay, I'm done. I'm out. I'm good.
There goes back to that personal experience changes how we view movies these days.
Yeah, it's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
You said
that's
that,
true.
And I'm like, I should probably mention it because that's relevant.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I don't even have any kids, and the Wild Robot. I knew what I was in for. I had seen it before, and I was still bawling at the end of the movie
because it touches you in the cockles and the subcockles.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I'm not sure I would use that terminology.
Maybe in the liver, maybe
that's
in
a
the
different.
kidneys.
That's a different kind of movie
Maybe
altogether.
Even
But
in the colon.
We just don't know.
Yeah, but both of these movies kind of, they touch a kind of an emotional tone, and they both, I think, bring kind of human feelings to them. They're about robots, but they portray human emotions that we can all identify with, and I think that's the power of any movie, but these movies in particular, they're very powerful that way.
Well, and
100%, yeah. And the way that stories touch us and change our lives and resonate with a deeper understanding, that's common, to a lot of people. Like Gabe said, I don't have kids, but I can identify with the struggles and the fear and the sense of trust and loss and all of these other things that the movie presents. Part of that is, from being a kid myself and watching my parents go through things, having friends with kids and watching them go through things, and it's a cultural touchstone that we all have some experience with, even if we don't have kids ourselves. And but it's so masterful at how it paints with those emotions in The Wild Robot and how it plays those notes and uses those tools in its toolbox to get at your emotional core and make it like a truly universal emotional experience for people. That I really think The Wild Robot is it may be like an almost perfect movie. Like it's such a high quality story and experience. I think there may be some issues I could nitpick here and there with it, but man, the way it knows how to handle its emotional core is you can see its mastery of it.
Well, and I think we have all at least some point in time in your life, whether it be when you're young, going off to college, sending your kid to college, your first job, your first boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever the case may be. We've all been in those moments where you're emotionally stunted, where you are looking at the world from a different perspective and you're trying to actually fit in and find not only yourself, but that situation, that moment, and who do you relate with? And I think everybody has that. And that is exactly what Roz goes through. That is what the Iron Giant goes through. They go through these moments of pure emotional stuntness of, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, even though I know what I'm supposed to be doing, but that doesn't really work. And I think we have those moments, everybody. So I think that's a lot of where that connection goes into play. So like you were saying, I don't have kids. I don't think that yes, that probably feeds to some of that. But I think there are other situations that are so similar that make that connection that really add to these movies. And I would agree,
Yeah.
Kyle. I'm pretty sure The Wild Robot is a pretty perfect movie. I've seen it multiple times, and it's
not only about having children either.
No.
It's about about friendship too. It's about having, connections and close friends.
Family, finding yourself.
Yep.
Sometimes you have a shitty family, and so you find a different family that they may not be directly related, but it's still what people call family. There are people that are orphans, or
just
even
like the
people that
Fast and Furious movies.
Okay,
there you go. That's another one.
Yeah.
That's another one. I should have mentioned that one.
Hey, look at that. The round is over. Way to break.
Mike knows how to end around, that's for sure.
Oh, God.
The emotional moment that we were just having there as Cinesmackers, but that's all right.
Andrew.
Wild Robot. Get on with it.
Kyle.
Yeah, it's Wild Robot.
Tom.
I'm going to go Iron Giant.
All right. And Gabe.
Yeah, I think this episode is going to be lopsided from the voting standpoint because both of these are really great. But I'm going to go with Wild Robot in this category.
All right.
I mean, Bumblebee had to learn about his feelings and how to talk. So, I mean, that's right. I guess Transformers is emotional.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
Also a robot.
Also a robot. In order to better blend the computer-generated Iron Giant into the traditionally animated film, technicians came up with a program that gave the giant's lines a slight wobble in order to match the natural line imperfections found in hand-drawn animation. The landscape and settings in the film were created using elastic reality. The trees and bushes in the woods are still paintings that go through a software that warp and morphs them, giving the perception that they are moving and lifelike. Near the end of The Wild Robot, the joke the bear tells the fox about chasing him again tomorrow is a joke that Richard Pryor had made in his stand-up comedy special, Wanted, live in concert. That's all I got.
Okay, so that sounded familiar, but I thought I was just going nuts.
Well, you're going nuts, but you're also correct.
They're not necessarily connected. They're separate things.
Well, no.
All right.
Yeah, I thought the animation in Iron Giant it reminded me a little bit of the Heavy Metal movie.
Yep.
With the rotoscoping and that kind of stuff too, which I thought was interesting. Kind of fun.
Scanner Darkly?
I have you know what? I have not seen that. Is it any good?
We'll talk about it after.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
And it also comes down to living your life quarter mile at a time.
Dude.
Let's move on to recommendations for this month. And we'll start with Kyle.
Okay, it's been a while since I've done this,
Oh,
but
shit.
I am gonna do it. I don't care. Other people have done it recently. I'm gonna recommend a TV show, and it is a TV show that borders on that thin line. You know that they say there's a thin line between genius and insanity. This show is on the razor's edge, and it's on HBO, and it's called The Chair Company. And it stars Tim Robinson from I Think You Should Leave, and Lake Bell, and the female lead from It. I don't know her name off the top of my head. That's really about the only people you'd recognize. But it is the craziest conspiracy theory story. And if you're a fan of I Think You Should Leave, you owe it to yourself to watch it. If you saw the movie Friendship with Paul Rudd and Tim Robinson, you liked it. It's created, co-created, directed, produced, something like that by the person who did Friendship. It is absolute insanity. It's hilarious. It is mind-boggling. It is awkward. It is genuinely intriguing. And it features, I think, the most explicit scene HBO has ever shown, which is hilarious because it's a comedy. But man, I can't recommend it enough. If you can handle absurd comedy and like awkward situations and want to get down and dirty and just kind of hold your head in your hands and go, what the hell's going on? But laugh at the same time. I can't recommend it highly enough.
All right. Thank you, Kyle. Tom.
So my recommendation is going to be a recent animated movie. The cast is completely loaded, and the movie lives up to the cast. We got Antonio Banderas, Selma Hayek, Florence Pugh, Ray Winstone, Olivia Colman, John Mulaney, and it is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It is the best Shrek movie. Shrek is not in it. It's a sequel to the first Puss in Boots movie, which I never saw. I only saw this one, and it is really, really funny. It's got that hand-drawn computer animation look to it that's really fun to watch, and the script is on point. All the voice actors know what they're doing. It's one of the funniest movies I've seen in a really long time, and so I would recommend you check out Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Thank you, Tom. Gabe.
Well, I'm going to go with another animated movie. Jill wants to go see Zootopia 2, but she had never seen Zootopia. So we just recently watched Zootopia, and I would recommend it very highly. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed it way more than I expected to. The sloth scenes at the DMV made me just like laugh out loud. I just thought it was hilarious, and the writing is really fantastic. There's a scene where there's a sheep who's making kind of like this drug, and it's very reminiscent of Breaking Bad. And then there's a knock on the door, and he says, Walter and Jesse are here with my latte. And I'm like, oh my God, they are totally referencing Breaking Bad, and I love it. There were all kinds of great movie and TV references in it. Got some great performances in it. I would recommend Zootopia, and we're looking forward to going to see Zootopia 2 here very soon.
I can tell you Zootopia 2 is pretty good as well.
Is it?
It's nearly as good as the first one.
Yep.
The sloth,
which is rare.
yes. The sloth scene. Holy crap. I almost died in the theater. Like, I was having problems breathing. I was laughing so hard. Oh my God, it was brilliant in that moment.
In one or two?
The first one. I've not seen the second one yet. That DMV scene, oh my God.
Oh my God. I know.
I'm sure the people around me were like, get this dude out. He has a serious problem. He needs medication. I could not. Oh my God. Oh.
I know, and it's so simple, stupid though.
Oh,
it's like such simple humor, where they're ripping off the receipt from the printer, and it's just but it was so funny. It made me laugh so hard.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
If you do go, when you do go, I want you to text me if they showed the new SpongeBob SquarePants trailer. Because I was that fool that probably needed medication, because there is a joke in there that the kids don't get, but it floored me. literally floored
Really?
me. I laughed so hard at a SpongeBob SquarePants trailer.
Well, I have to say, I've enjoyed. We've gone to the SpongeBob movies too, and
Okay.
I've enjoyed those quite a bit too. Yeah.
Andrew.
My recommendation is going to take you way back. Way back. Put on them old shoes because I'm going to take you for a journey.
I'll just get on with it.
So I'm going all the way back to 1995. This
Oh
was
my
probably,
God. It's forever ago.
Right? I know for a lot of people weren't even born that are probably listening.
Yeah.
They're
25.
I'm not even gonna like sugarcoat or anything. It's Toy Story, and Toy Story, when I watched this for the very first time in theaters, was the very first time that I sat and went, I want to do this. I want to make this kind of magic. I want to make this kind of emotion and power and happiness and joy by doing something like this. And Toy Story was one of the very first movies that really pushed me to say, I want to do computer animation. I want to do visual effects. I want to make movies like this. This was one of those foundations. So Toy Story, if you haven't seen it, and the fifth one is coming out soon, so you should probably at least get caught up. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's an oldie but a goodie, I know, but holy crap, dude.
Well, I'm sticking with the theme, animated robots. This one is from 2021, and I think unfortunately, it was just put out on streaming because of COVID. But it stars Jack Dylan Grazer, Zach Galifianakis, and Ed Helms. And I know Squeaks and I have watched it a few times, and it's Ron's Gone Wrong. And it is absolutely hilarious. It is so damn funny. It's essentially about the story of Barney, an awkward middle schooler, and Ron, his new walking, talking, digitally connected device. So if you haven't watched it, check it out. Ron's Gone Wrong.
Because that came out about the same time as Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Yes.
And I think they were both COVID movies, aren't they?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
I've never even heard of that one. So.
Oh,
yeah.
they're both great.
It's pretty damn funny.
It's so funny.
All right. I'm going to poke the monkey, find out who won.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is the Royal Rumble!
All right. Well, this is pretty lopsided for considering how many great things we had to say about the Iron Giant, but 12-4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's unrepresentative of how good both of these movies
exactly.
are. I feel like the Wild Robot has some benefit from recency. From some. It learned a lot from the Iron Giant.
Exactly. I always feel bad with these movies where Wild Robot is better because it stood on the shoulders of Iron Giant, which makes it like a really, really big giant robot. But
giants are.
We wouldn't have Wild Robot if we didn't have Iron Giant, and that's tough. But
yeah,
true.
But that's not what this podcast is about.
That's true.
Well, all I know is that the votes show which movie is better. So take that, Iron Giant. Yeah.
Yeah. Shut up, Vin Diesel.
I was trying to throw the smack down.
And as a result, the Iron Giant will be removed from the Congressional Library of Congress. So.
All because of this show, right?
Because
here.
of this show, yeah.
We really haven't been sharing that little piece of information. But any movie that loses Cinesmack gets taken out of the Library of Congress.
That's true.
And it is replaced by an unopened DVD of Bloodsport.
Yeah. Yeah, those when you have movies on your computer and they suddenly vanish, and you're like, I thought I bought that. That's because it lost on
Cinesmack.
Us.
Yeah,
we did that.
It's totally us.
You wonder why
it's
movies
like
drop off of Netflix and Hulu?
It's us.
It's us.
Yep.
It's like when Apple put U2 on everybody's phone. We take the movies off of everybody's
Device. Yeah.
We have that power.
And
Because I
they're
sold
all
my soul to the devil.
They're all put in a vault, never to be seen again.
The inverted Bono, they call it.
That sounds dirty.
That's in the
Hey, honey, I'm going to give you inverted Bono tonight.
Inverted Bono.
Is that stupid album still on my phone?
I knew you guys were gonna.
Songs of Innocence.
Whatever it was.
The inverted Bono is just not being a pretentious dick while wearing normal glasses.
Oh, wait. All right. Please leave us a review.
Rim job.
Please leave us a review on whatever podcasting service you use. It helps us reach new listeners. If you like us, tell your friends. If you hate us, tell your enemies. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, where you can join the live recordings. Just search Cinesmack. In January, Kyle will be hosting as two fish out of water stories fight for the biggest catch. It's the man who knew too little versus the man with one red shoe. For Andrew, Kyle, Gabe, Tom, and myself, thanks for listening. Happy holidays, and go catch a flick.
Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, fa la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, fa la 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 la. Hey, the Yuletide carol, fa la 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 la. Take it, Russ.
Sentimental hogwash.
Fragile. It must be Italian.
You want the moon? Just say the word and I'll throw a lasso around and pull it down.
You'll have some firecrackers.
In the heat of battle, my father wove a tapestry of obscenity that, as far as we know, is still hanging in space over Lake Michigan.
Get me back! I don't care what happens to me! Get me back to my wife and kids! Help me, Clarence, please! Please! I want to live again!
Merry Christmas! Dinner was full!
I wish I had $1 million.
I had to have her replaced because every time Catherine revved up the microwave, I'd piss my pants and forget who I was for a half hour or so.
I have since heard of people under extreme duress speaking in strange tongues. I became conscious that a steady torrent of obscenities and swearing of all kinds was pouring out of me as I screamed.
Your mouth's bleeding. Are you sure you're all right? My mouth's bleeding, Bert! My mouth's bleeding! There they are! Bert! What do you know about this? Merry Christmas!
How do the little piggies go?
Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.